I mean, but even before that, one thing I learned is that Leong Man Wai's father was a hawker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He said in his
I did not get
speech
a part.
at the Chinatown hawker center.
Yes, that's right.
And his sister is currently a hawker.
Yeah. That's
who
right.
sells wanton mee.
Yes, he talks about the community at Chinatown being a very, very big part of his childhood and all.
Then I was like, whoa, you start off like that, huh? Like, it's a great anchor to whatever you're saying. The holiday season is coming up soon, and I'm sure you want to get Christmas gifts that are meaningful, unique, and heartfelt. You know, something that really shows gratitude to a loved one, that lets them know how much you appreciate them, right? Now, it's not easy, but we've got the perfect idea to help you do just that. An audio recording of you sharing your favorite stories and memories of a special someone delivered in a Bluetooth speaker styled as a good old mixtape. Say hello to our Folklory cassette. All we'll need is a 30-minute phone call with you or someone you nominate, and we'll turn that conversation into a podcast that your loved one can listen to the moment they receive their personalized cassette. It'll come preloaded with your recording, and it's a unique gift that your loved one can bring with them wherever they go. We launched this last year, and our entire batch was sold out for Christmas. People loved it, which is why we are offering it once again this year. So order by 31st October to guarantee a cassette delivered to you by Christmas. Slots are limited, so the earlier you book, the better. Now, we've recorded with hundreds of customers from over 20 countries, so we're pretty sure we can help you create something magical. You can find out all the info you need at folklory.com, along with examples and reviews from our previous customers. The link is in the show notes, so please check it out. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
What's up with the end of the week, man?
Yeah, actually the weather is getting nice already.
It's
feeling
great.
It's not as crazy warm as before.
Yeah,
nice end of the week.
It's a little melancholic grey.
Melancholic.
Yeah.
Not melancholic. I got melancholic. What's this? I don't even know where this accent comes from. What is melancholic?
Melancholy, what?
Yeah, melancholy, right?
You don't say
Aluminium. Okay, lah. Okay,
so how do you say it?
Melancholic.
Melancholic.
Yeah.
Melancholic sounds like a disease like that.
You're colic. You making fun of Chinese people, is it? Purposely?
Alcoholic, melancholic.
You go with your colleague on a melancholic
adventure,
night.
melancholic adventure. Melancholic.
Please speak properly. Please
I like the melancholic.
Properly.
It's a fun word to say, right?
But that paints you as Singaporean straight away.
Right? Melancholic. Melancholic weather. It's nice. The slightly greyish weather, very contemplative. Chill. You're not sweating your ass off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sort of everyone sort of settling in on, Trump 2.0. And the world's like, okay, let's move on for the next 4 years, right?
You feel people settling in. I feel like, every day is like some new announcement that is making people lose their minds, man.
I don't lose their minds, but generally, I mean, there's a lot of grief, right? A lot of people who are sort of grieving what the next 4 years are going to feel like.
Yeah.
And nothing is that surprising anymore, right? He is going to surround himself with people who are loyal to him and who have not made sense to most people for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Like RFK Juniors and all.
And
right?
I think I read that he announced his Secretary of Defense is going to be some Fox News anchor who had 2 deployments in the Middle East.
Yeah.
But not as a general or something. You look at the CV of the current Secretary of Defense, he's like a retired 4-star general.
Correct.
So this guy, he's a 44-year-old guy.
Yeah.
I think one of the panelists on Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
And just had some military experience.
Correct. Yeah, so
crazy.
I've just been watching all these. YouTube has been feeding me via the algorithm a lot of videos of Trump from 2011, 2012, when he was flirting with running for president. And, he was promoting the Obama birther controversy about his birth certificate and all that.
Yeah.
And I was just watching all those videos and how, even the hosts of The View were interacting with him.
And big fans of him.
Yeah,
right?
fans of him, And I was like, wow, it feels like alternate universe, that we're living in now. And that was just like, 12, 13 years ago, which in actual fact is not that long ago. Like Trump was just like a B-list celebrity kind of person having a reality show, right?
Yeah,
And
it was
then-
almost like, when you hear The Rock wanting to run for president, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that'll be a nice thing, that'll be a cool thing.
Mm.
And Trump had that sort of vibe.
Yeah. Like, oh, maybe he could bring something different to the table.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
come on, seriously, he's not going to be president,
Yeah, that's why.
And here we are.
Yeah, here
he's
we are,
surrounding
man.
himself with like all these people that are coming out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's almost like it feels like, are they taking it a bit too lighthearted? Because like Elon Musk and the Department of
Government efficiency.
Government Efficiency, which acronym is DOGE, right?
Yeah.
And he posted like a meme on Twitter. It feels like, wait, in some way, okay, like every job, even the most serious job, you want to bring a certain lightheartedness to it,
Yeah.
to make it seem like inclusive and fun. But when you're doing it so flippantly like that,
Yeah.
it's like, really?
Mm.
Is this really like this new era
Yeah.
of running a country?
So that's why, people say Singapore's a bubble. But maybe, it's the bubble that we
It's a bubble.
want to be in for the next few years.
Yeah, suddenly the bubble doesn't look too bad anymore.
Yeah. I mean, relative.
Not to say that it ever looked bad, There's a general level of comfort, but
Or not to say that the bubble is really that great, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Is both sides of the coin. And involves what we're talking about today also, right?
Yeah. Fresh off a parliamentary sitting.
Yeah.
But before that,
we have a pretty big announcement.
hell
right?
yeah. Last podcast you said we have a big announcement, or we
teased it already. We are going to do it, but we didn't say exactly when.
Yes.
I think now we're ready to say when, right?
Yes. And we're doing our next live show, our Yalabat live show, on Thursday, 12th December at 8 p.m. at a location in the CBD. So it'll be a nice Thursday night after work kind of chill session. We'll be recording a live podcast with some other perks here and like things here and there. Yeah. But why is this exciting?
It's exciting because I think the last round that we did this live show, a lot of people who wanted to come, they couldn't get the tickets on time.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a wait list, and I mean a few people managed to get tickets, but a lot of people who wanted to go didn't manage to get tickets. But this time, I think, we're hoping that this is something more regular.
Yeah.
And we're sort of trialing it out this December. And if all goes well, it'll be a regular fixture on our calendar.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But only if all goes well. So we got to have a good attendance, good showing. The tickets will go live at 3 p.m. next Tuesday, 19th November. We will share the link in our Telegram group, which if you haven't joined yet, join it. But yeah, that's when it'll go live. So mark it on your calendars, man.
Yeah. I mean, what can people expect from a live podcast recording? If you
Getting
have to
up
sell
close and personal with us. Potentially having a say in what we talk about, which is what we did the last time.
Yeah.
We always stick around to chat and answer some Q&As off the record.
Yeah.
What else for you?
I think it's also to meet other like-minded Yalabat listeners, right? I think over the years, we've built up a pretty cool community. And don't take it from me. Later, my one Shiok comment is about that as well. We've built up a pretty cool community of Yalabat listeners who, have along the same lines as us, have decided to, entertain dangerous ideas in their own lives. And it's cool to meet up and talk about things. And maybe, who knows, maybe some people have even found a significant others from attending our events before.
That's true.
Yeah. So who knows, if you are single and ready to mingle, Yalabat could be the best mixer.
Yeah. That is true. And plus, you can meet the rest of our team, who will be there as well.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
So
something nice to round off the end of the year also, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, hopefully work is cooling down for people also, so there's time to hang out. It'll be Thursday night, fun times. There probably will be drinks. So all the details will come out next Tuesday, 19th November at 3 p.m.
Yep.
Sweet.
But cool. Shall we jump right into it then?
Sure, man.
Yeah.
And what we said, this piece of news is fresh off the recent parliamentary sitting, and it was the news that Parliament votes in favor of an amended PSP motion on supporting hawkers. So this was voted on this past Wednesday, November 13th, and it was like a 5-hour debate between, I think, in total 14 MPs. The motion was proposed by PSP, so both Leong and Hazel gave speeches that talked about certain policy changes they're recommending to, keep the hawker culture in Singapore alive and well. There was some response from Dr. Po Kun, who is the Senior Minister of State for Sustainability and Environment. But basically, in summary, the amended motion, or maybe I read the original motion that was proposed by PSP. It was to call the government to, and I quote, review its policies relating to hawkers and the management of hawker centres to provide better support for hawkers to sustain and grow Singapore hawker culture so that Singaporeans can continue to enjoy good and affordable hawker food. I just realized how many times it says hawkers. It's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. So the amended motion is to call the government to continue its support for hawkers by regularly reviewing its policies relating to hawkers and the management of hawker centres, which will help to sustain and grow Singapore's hawker culture so that Singaporeans can continue to grow, enjoy good and affordable hawker food while enabling hawkers to earn a fair livelihood.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a mouthful, and we will go into the differences. But what were your thoughts when you saw this announcement?
I was just quite shocked that it was a 5-hour debate in Parliament, and also that it was a PSP motion that was brought forward that was unanimously voted on by the entire House, right? So that is was quite a surprise to me. Obviously with amendments, but honestly, you look at what was tabled and what the amendments were, not huge differences, right? Differences come in in the fine print and the stuff that they debated about, but the motion itself was quite intact.
And I mean, like, at first I had to reread the things I just read out to understand what the hell is the difference. And basically, from the original motion, at MP Edward Chair, the first change was instead of saying to by regularly the government to review its policies relating to hawkers and the management of hawker centres, blah blah, it is to continue its support for hawkers by regularly reviewing. So I would imagine on the first one is by asking the government to do something they haven't done before, which is review, in order to support better. Whereas the amended is like saying, we are supporting them already, but we need to continue our support by regularly reviewing, and then to change, provide better support for hawkers which will help hawkers. So a bit minor changes, and that last sentence, continue to enjoy food and affordable hawkers and food while enabling hawkers to earn a fair livelihood. But the crux of the debate, right? It was 5.5 hours. What are some of the things that stood out for you?
I think PSP, Leong and Hazel, they put out several policy proposals, right? And so it was a bit of a back and forth where every policy proposal seemed to have a counter punch to it, right? And I thought some of the policy proposals were quite interesting, worth discussion. Which one stood out to you?
I mean, but even before that, one thing I learned is that Leong Man Wai's father was a hawker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He said in his speech at the Chinatown hawker center.
Yes, that's right.
And his sister is currently a hawker. Who sells wonton mee.
Yes, he talks about the community at Chinatown being a very, very big part of his childhood and all.
Then I was like, whoa, you start off like that, Like, it's a great anchor to whatever you're saying.
Yeah, it is.
So essentially, like, certain things he proposed. Okay, let's see.
I mean,
you have it.
The one big one that he did say was that each cooked hawker food store, including drinks and cut fruit stores, should be allowed to employ one work permit holder as a store assistant to help with the manpower crunch, right? Which would mean a foreigner, right? Working in hawker centers. Right?
Yeah. I mean, right now, I think because Dr. Ko Poo Kun, he had a whole long speech rebutting a lot of it. Apparently now he says there is long-term pass holders that can be employed on basically opening it up to non-spouses. And his defense was that having foreigners might change the cultural makeup of hawkers. But before we go into the rebuttals, so that was one. Another one was that the social enterprise hawker center be phased out and the management of hawker centers be centralized under a new government agency called Hawker Singapore. Because from what I understand of the 100 plus hawker centers, I think 14 are run by socially conscious social enterprise hawker centers, which has its own way of operating, but which don't seem, at least in PSP's views, to place the interest of the hawkers at its heart. Then the second one, a new rent model, which will charge lower rent. I think moving away from the tendered process and having like a standardized rent across all stalls. And also about deciding where or not these hawkers are placed. And then also, instead of forcing hawkers to provide budget meals at their own expense, the government should pay for targeted food discounts and transfer the cost to the government instead of the hawkers. So that was a 4 from Leong Man Wai. And from Hazel Pua, she had 2 more policies, which are...
One's a central procurement system for hawker centers, where the government agency can contract wholesalers to supply hawkers with cheaper ingredients via bulk purchasing, right?
Yes.
So that's an idea that she mooted. And you said there's one more?
No, I think. She basically echoed something that Leong Man was saying about the rent,
Okay.
Yeah. So those were the kinds of things that were being proposed, which was all quite interesting, which stood out to you as something that was innovative?
I think the idea of a central procurement system for suppliers. Hazel Pua said that this not, as she pointed out, this is not an idea that doesn't have any basis, right? Because she says that our healthcare system already does that for medication, right? So in some ways that gives you more bargaining power rather than versus being an individual hawker and looking for your own suppliers, right? Yeah. So how about you? What do you think was quite interesting?
I thought the central procurement system was interesting, but that thing about Hawker Singapore, because Leong Man Wai brought up the case of that, I think quite well known as a case study of a country exporting its cuisine, which is Thailand. And apparently he quoted some stat about Thai restaurants. The number of Thai restaurants overseas has tripled from 5,000 in 2002 to 15,000 in 2024. And this is something that we have heard before, so that there's a lot of government support to train chefs, provide loans, and kind of even have a starter kit for anyone who wants to set up a Thai restaurant overseas. Right. And that builds into their proposal to have this Hawker Singapore, which is a centralized government agency that can work with STB, Enterprise Singapore, EDB, have an academy to train budding hawkers, which, I think there are academies right now. There are agencies that help budding hawkers, but I like the idea of seeing hawker culture as something that is exportable. And not that that trivializes it or objectifies it. I totally think that if we can export it, it just makes the whole aspect of hawker culture a lot more vibrant, a lot more sustainable.
Yeah, because don't forget, hawker culture has been inscribed on the UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Humanity, yo.
Not just Singaporeans.
Inscribed, not even written down or typed into something. It's inscribed there.
Inscribed, man.
So that's and that's the only thing we have on the list. And it's alongside other big, cultural heritage,
soft culture, right?
Cultural heritage experiences around the world, right? So I feel like if there's anything worth investing in and really marketing to the rest of the world, as this is Singapore, hawker centers are it.
But then listening to what Hazel Pua and Leong Man Wai are saying, and then reading through the very long response to the motion by Dr. Koh Poh Kun, who again is the Senior Minister of State, the SMOS of Sustainability and the Environment. There were certain things he said that made me also think made me wonder, who is right or how to think about it. Because for example, right, I think Leong Man Wai brought up the case about how, the rent is a very high cost. I think he admittedly said also that rent might not be the biggest cost, but it is a fixed cost. Whereas if the cost of raw ingredients is high, at least the hawker has the agency to change or find cheaper alternatives. But for rent, if it's fixed, it's fixed. And then he brought up the example that, usually because of the tender process where stalls are given out to the highest bidder, it can result in, I think, one stall at Marine Parade Central Market that is now $10,000 a month rental. And because of that, they proposed that the rent be kind of standardized to I think 500 or 3% of gross turnover, which is higher. But then when you read Dr. Koh Poon Koon's response, right, he was saying that I think 40% or of only 4% of stalls have rent that is higher than the assessed market rate. Which is what in some way PSP is lobbying for. Like, okay, we don't have a tender process because that means the highest bidder wins. Let's just assess the market value and charge the rent based on that. But then Dr. Koh Poon Koon, he said, but actually on average, most of the rents are lower than the average market rate. Which then makes me think like, wait, then is it that bad? Then is it a case of like you have these anomalies of $10,000 a month that is skewing everyone's thought of rent being so expensive?
Outliers, right?
Outliers. Yeah. So I don't know, because of course when you read PSP's motions, they sound great. And like I remember reading, I was like, wow, kudos to them for bringing it up. Why haven't we thought about this? But then reading Dr. Koh Poon Koon's response, even though some of it was a bit annoyingly worded, very condescending, there were facts that kind of like made it seem like, these things are already in place and the system is not perfect.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to read and listen to if you really want to get into the weeds about it. What I'd say is that it really stems from a difference in philosophy, right? Do you believe that the hawker culture is so worth preserving and so valuable that you would literally set up like Hawker Singapore, right? A whole government agency to oversee this entire thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the fence, like, yes, hawkers culture is important, but it's also important that it's run, as a sustainable business in itself. And in that sense, you wouldn't want the government to have its hands in everything and to, artificially depress prices to maintain it there, right?
Yeah.
So it comes from a very different philosophy of seeing what hawker culture should be. One is seeing it as this treasure, right? This national treasure that no matter what, we should do everything we can to preserve it, and the government should have the biggest hand in doing so. And the other side is like, okay, ultimately, they're also individual entrepreneurs and they need to be responsible for their bottom lines and all as well, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that tells you a little bit more about what probably the party lines are like as well between PSP and the PAP government, right? But for you, like, where do you think you lie in this debate?
I would say closer, if you look at those two things as like opposite ends, I would say not at either extreme end, but more towards that we need to preserve this and we need to make this work.
So means you're a socialist, basically.
In some way, I would say, I think so. Because the thing is, I know like in Dr. Koh Poon Koon's response, I'll just say KPK. KPK.
Son of Pongo. Son of Pongo. That's his nickname, right?
SOP KPK. It was really kind of saying, we determine the free market to really decide a lot of things for us. And it felt like, okay, you get the free marketing, you get the capitalist system, you get how every entrepreneur needs to survive. But I also think that right now expectations are a bit skewed. Like the budget thing, I think in a previous podcast, we also were shitting on the Budget Go Where website, right? Which is a government website that allows people to search for budget meals closest to you. And I think either Hazel or Leong brought up that when you standardize or force hawkers to provide budget meals, they are offered to everyone regardless of their income. But if you give vouchers to the people who are more income depressed, then it makes sense. So the pressure is not on the hawker to really lower the price, which I thought actually that makes sense. So on one hand, if you're kind of saying hawkers culture needs to be preserved but need to offer these $3 budget meals to everyone, that I think is a bit unfair. So that feels like counterintuitive to the approach where you understand this needs to be protected and you want to help the hawkers out as much as you can. So that's why it's a bit contradictory. Like you offer these budget meals, but then you say they are entrepreneurs who need to survive on their own. So I would say, I'm more towards the socialist side. For you?
I think for me, the most telling statistic is that in 2021, the median age for hawkers is 60 years old. The median age of hawkers is 60 years old.
60. And median is where if you lined up 100...
right in the middle, That means it's 60. We don't have a lot of time left, We don't have time to slowly figure out the economics of how this is going to work and how we're going to help them create sustainable things amidst, global inflationary pressures and all that, the hawker trade is going to die out just by, natural age and attrition, right?
Yeah.
We don't have the time to go and slowly figure out how to make a sustainable economic model. But what we have now is that it's our UNESCO cultural heritage. It can be a tourist attraction. It can be something that we push out to the world. But we have a very small window of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to die off soon.
Yeah.
So we got to do something. We got to use this 20 years to really, before the median age becomes 70 or 80, right?
Yeah.
We got to use this 10, 20 years. We have to really cement Singapore's hawker culture its place in the world and in Singapore also. Yeah. So in some sense, if the next 10, 20 years is a sprint where we use a lot of, funding and everything to make it work, right, in whatever capacity, I actually am leaning more towards that.
Actually, that's a good point. Because you said they will die. It's not just the culture itself. No. The people who built the culture.
Yeah. And accepted that way of life as their lives, right?
Yeah.
That they would create relatively affordable food and work, long hours and quite tough conditions in the hawker center, as long as they can provide for their own family. But they will not, they're not going to aspire to franchise it or make it a worldwide business and all that, right?
Yeah.
This new hustle, go big or go home culture is very much our millennial generation onwards, right? Who brought it to the forefront.
Yeah.
So that those people are going to, they're going to unfortunately pass away as well at some point.
Because I mean, Leong Man Wai did bring up the fact that I think when they were talking about the manpower requiring, allowing one foreign worker per stall, he brought his two examples of, I think the famous Chinatown claypot rice hawker Uncle Hong.
Yeah.
He retired because he fell and broke his pelvic bone. Tan Hock Guan of the Guan Ki fried kway teow stall at Ghim Moh also retired last year after he fainted while frying kway teow. Yeah, these people are old. And I think that itself, if you look at it that way, we have a limited window. Yes, it might, the free market might work, but if it's longer or it needs a lot of the system being built, maybe, but we have 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, average life expectancy, Singapore still 81, right?
Yeah.
So median 60, I don't know what the average is, but we have a limited window to really build this up in a sustainable way.
Yeah. Not saying that Leong Man Wai's or Hazel Pua's proposals are the best, right?
Yeah.
But I would say between the motion that PSP put forward and the motion that was amended and finally accepted, there is a bit more urgency in the original proposal, right? The original motion, right? Where we need to review these things now.
Yeah.
So I think generally, I'm just glad that this discussion is going on, that there are proposals being put forward. But maybe it will require some finagling, right, of the Jack Sim kind of variety, right, where if like he says, when you work with bureaucrats, at the end of the day, they will first reject you, then after that they will eject you, and then they will make you feel dejected. And finally, the way to get them to actually work with you is to let them hijack your idea. Right?
Yeah, that's true. The 4 Jacks, right?
Yeah, his 4 Jacks theory of working with bureaucrats. So in some way, maybe it's important that Leong Man Wai put this forward, and even though it's being rejected, who knows, there could be someone looking to hijack one of his proposals at some point.
And I mean, technically it's not being rejected. It's like, when you are having an argument with someone and the idea is a good idea, but you too much pride to accept, right? You're like, I like that, but can we tweak a bit?
That's you That's you and me right? Essentially, you just described exactly how working with you is like.
Hey, nonsense. I knew. The moment halfway through I was saying it, I was like, fuck, I'm just opening up myself for Terence to make an uncalled for remark.
But I mean, at least you acknowledge it. I commend you
on
your
often does it happen?
self-awareness.
How often does it happen? I never acknowledged it.
Like all the time, hello.
Nonsense.
You are Mr. Have to have the last word.
Nonsense. Like, I can't help if I'm just full of good ideas, lah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that you are the kind of guy who needs to have the last word.
I don't think so.
I think so. Yeah. Check with your
You have the last
family.
word.
We're not done. We're not done with the podcast.
Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the one thing that we were talking about, the son of Pongo's response, which was a bit sometimes wouldn't say condescending, but a bit passive aggressive. There was one thing in response to the allowing the one foreign worker per stall, right? He said, as I said earlier, full liberalization of our hawker centers would significantly alter the makeup and feel of these hawker centers. There is really no science to this question. It's really about what we are prepared to accept as a society. Are we prepared to accept that the hawker center we are familiar with changes in nature to something quite different? This is something that will have to evolve over time. So basically, he's getting at that if we allow foreigners into something that, is the epitome of Singapore culture, will it dilute what the hawker center means to us?
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, it's already changing. It's already like reaching breaking point. And then now you're saying that, are we prepared to accept something that is quite different? I would be prepared to accept something that's quite different if there's still something to accept, rather than having nothing to accept because hawker centers have died out.
Yeah.
So his response, like certain things, I'm like, okay, he has a point, but
then again, are you creating a false urgency of this whole thing, right? Like maybe you are a minority who believes that hawker centers need to change or they'll just die out, completely die out quickly. Whereas I think he's saying that, but you change already, then people are going to be very upset that, you change what the feel of a hawker center is and all that. And I think I'm just harking back to our last discussion about
primary
schools. I think you were the one who was saying that the feel of a primary school, the auntie, making the mee rebus for you is so important. It has to be, but cannot be the auntie just serving you mee rebus. You must know she cooked it and she cares about you and knows your name and all that. That's exactly what he's saying, that maybe some people don't want to accept a very big change, right?
I mean, that one different because I'm saying that hawker centers are already changing a lot.
Okay.
To point sometimes that maybe it's already a bit hard to accept. So to come from a high ground and say, are we prepared to accept this change that will happen if we do this, as opposed to acknowledging that changes are already happened because things are not being done. Yeah. Whereas the primary school one different, Terrence. That one is like there's no changes. Like it's still the same, it's still the same, but the change is coming from the outside.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Took me a while to collect my thoughts.
To realize that you were caught.
I thought, shit. No, it's fundamentally different.
No, but it's the truth, right? Like you go to hawker centers now, there are some certain types of foods that I used to really eat a lot more of that I find it harder to find out, like satay bee hoon, for example. I can rarely find like a lot of satay bee hoon restaurants around, hawker stalls around. For you, like any that
mala, I'm not saying I eat a lot of mala.
You say there's more mala now,
mala right? Everywhere, man.
Okay.
And that fish, that fish.
The long fish,
the long fish with mala, is it?
Yeah.
The mala.
What's wrong with that? I mean,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. It's changing. It's changing. Okay.
You racist, are you?
I'm just saying it's changing a lot. It's changing a lot.
I mean, in the sense, are you saying that they're replacing a lot of things, other things that are more so-called Singapore in origin?
Yeah, I think they are. Feels like it.
So what do you see less of that you wish that you were still around?
There was less of that. Nothing comes to mind per se. So nothing comes to mind about something that I noticed the absence of. I just noticed the influx of a lot of things.
And so but a lot of people like to eat mala, right?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people, office people, like in the middle of the day, suddenly they're having this big, like big fish feast and everything.
Yeah.
So people like it, Then what's wrong with it being there?
There's nothing wrong. I'm just saying, going back to Son of Pongo's response, all I'm saying is that one thing where he made it seem like these changes, undesirable changes might come if we implement this, as opposed to kind of acknowledging that, things are already changing.
Yeah.
And we are all dealing with it. It's still, the soul is still there. So don't make it seem like it is only if we allow this, then things will change.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do think the mala thing does change certain perceptions of the hawker center, right?
Yeah.
For me, the big thing is that the mala is they go by weight, right? Usually, and not the number of ingredients per se. Some places go by weight, and end up your meal can be really expensive. Like one bowl of mala, whatever, can end up being $20 to $30, right?
Yeah.
Which is not. You think about it, last time hawker center, like very rarely you have such, expensive one dish items, right? Usually there's some kind of acknowledgement that, you buy one item from a store, usually it's like $5 or $6 maximum, right? Whereas mala has this, it can be quite astronomical at the prices. And I think over time, people have just come to accept that, that's what mala is. It's going to be very expensive, and that, you don't know the actual price until you're paying for it at the end and all that. So it kind of changes the perception of hawker centers as an affordable place to eat all the time.
That's true. It becomes more like a restaurant.
And you have to be very careful that you're not going to get scammed, right?
Because it started off with food courts where they sometimes cordon off their own area also for the mala. But when you see it at hawker centers and coffee shops, that's when it feels okay.
Yeah.
Again, I still think they still feel like they are not out of place being at a hawker center.
Yeah.
But it's just going back to this feeling that what he was saying about how things, like Hazel, things are not already changing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Then the other one is like, what do you think of all that bulk purchasing of supplies?
I mean, I thought it was a great idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A central kitchen kind of thing.
No, not central kitchen. This is just ingredients.
Ingredients,
it's not central kitchen, Terrence. It's not central. Central storeroom. I know what you're getting at. Okay? I know what you're getting at. If it was central kitchen, then I'd be like, fuck no. Okay, this is central storeroom for ingredients. It's like Master Chef. There's a central place, but they come out and they just make their different things,
Correct.
Anything to say, Terrence?
No. I was just laying the trap and see whether you step in.
This trap, I noticed, I'm still bleeding from the previous trap. So I think that kind of makes sense. And I mean, to not force the hawkers to purchase from that wholesale supplier.
Correct.
Well, what do you think of that? This is basically the context. You can explain the context of it.
I mean, the idea is that because everyone says that the cost of ingredients is going up, right? And as a hawker, honestly, you don't have bargaining power, right? But they're saying that if you collectively can come together as a group and then purchase from bulk suppliers together, right? You could actually have some cost savings there. But I think the response, I'm paraphrasing, but the response is that actually a lot of hawkers prefer to have their own relationships with suppliers and all that.
Yeah.
I actually feel I get that justification, because if you think about it, like chefs, restaurateurs, all that, they all love to have their own individual relationships with suppliers. I went to this fish market and I know that guy for how many years. And then that's part of their whole sales thing, right? I mean, you watch Culinary Class Wars. They also talk about these kind of things where they go out of their way to get a special supplier, to provide a special type of fish or whatever. So in some sense, I think that is actually, for the hawkers, it actually gives them, a sense of what they're creating is really special, and it differentiates them from each other.
True.
And goes away from the whole central kitchen kind of model, right?
True, but I think what they pointed out is that it shouldn't be mandated for the hawkers to buy from, because I haven't watched Culinary Class Wars, but I would imagine in other countries where there's a big domestic agricultural trade, you can literally get it from your favorite farmer. But in Singapore, if most of the produce is being imported already, then in some way there's still a limited range that you can get from. So then if it makes sense that there can be real cost savings, assuming you're taking the approach that, okay, hawker culture, there is a ticking clock, then we need to let go of some things, getting from your own favorite vegetable store versus this wholesale supplier who gives you 10% cheaper. That might be a trade-off that if the hawker, if it makes sense to them, then why not? But again, Son of Pongo responded that it is already in place for the social enterprise hawker centers. But on the other side, I think there's been some feedback that some of them said they are forced to take the gas from the gas supplier, or the cutlery from them, which is above market rate. So then that is a negative example of this being implemented, which is not good.
And those are commodities, right? They're not different from one another, right? Whereas I think ingredients and suppliers, that it can be quite different in terms of quality. But there's also the standard gaslighting thing, right? Okay, I won't say gaslighting because I think that's my perspective. But MPs also highlighted how mindsets surrounding the value of hawker food need to change. So Edward Chia said, As we reflect on Singapore's social compact, let's also take a moment to consider how each of us can contribute to helping our hawkers earn a fair and sustainable livelihood. Hawkers have expressed that while customers are willing to pay $15 for a bowl of ramen, they hesitate to pay $5 for a handmade bowl of fishball noodles. What do you think of that?
I mean, the mindset thing. Okay, I agree that for these kind of things where everybody a lot of people are consumers, yes, there are things that we can do within our power to make things a bit better. But when there are clear issues that have not been solved yet, asking us to do our part is a bit annoying. Because the thing, the moment you compare with other countries, then there's a lot of things we can throw back to the government. Right? The other country do like that, how come we never do?
But this is not comparing to other countries. Right? This is saying that you pay for a bowl.
In Singapore,
a bowl of ramen is $15, right? Which is, I would say that's a reasonable price, right? Then why is it the fishball noodles you cannot pay $5? You only pay $5.
Yeah, I think I do also feel that hawker prices for the longest time have been depressed artificially.
Depressed,
and I think it is something that we all need to be okay with, just understanding, okay, if the price increases, it's not them being like sharks. It is the reality.
Yeah.
So just now I just went off a tangent to shit on the
foreigners. Other countries.
No, I'm just saying that sort of rhetoric. But coming back to this, I mean, to a certain extent, I think there is something there. For you?
But I mean, this is the thing I don't like about this kind of argument is that it kind of makes it like you're just comparing the actual food itself and the ingredients and all that, right?
Yeah.
But the whole experience of getting a bowl of ramen, right? Even if you go to one of those like Ichiran or something like that, where you sit in a little booth by yourself, all that. It's you're also paying for the experience of that, right? Sitting in a communal booth and having servers and everything and aircon, right? Ultimately, and that's part of the experience that you're paying for, whereas a hawker center really it's no frills, it's really just about the food itself, right? So a bit. It's not really apples to apples comparison that I find when someone is paying $15 for ramen plus the whole experience, whereas for fishball noodles is really about the fishball noodles, and you know that when you're eating it, it's not going to be that comfortable. You're going to be maybe sharing tables, table not so clean,
toilets also not clean.
Toilets not clean, yeah. So it's different. It's a different thing to compare these two.
Yeah. And I think comparing all hawker food is also a bit tricky because I think there were some examples stated also by some hawkers that have maintained their price at $3 to $4 to offer it to the older folk that they have been serving for like 20, 30 years. But if you take the argument and like for some of the younger hawkers who are trying something a bit more, artisanal wonton mee or something which you can find, right? Then it also sets up different expectations.
Correct.
So if that argument kind of buckets everything together, it is tricky because yes, certain hawker food, even now like paying like $9 and all, you can understand. But certain things, it's not a one size fits all. And that sort of arguments kind of a bit more detrimental.
And I would say at the end of the day, let's look at how we applied for the UNESCO inscription now, right? UNESCO inscription is officially titled Hawker Culture in Singapore, Community Dining and Culinary Practices in Multicultural Urban Context. So while it doesn't say that the food has to be low cost, right? Part of the whole application of this UNESCO heritage thing and what makes hawker culture unique is that hawker centers serve as community dining rooms where people from diverse backgrounds gather and share the experience of dining over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there really has to be this, you have to be all sitting together with people from all walks of life and, in a very big urban context, multicultural and all. I don't think you would say that is part of a ramen experience, right?
That's true. So, in fact, the Ichiran literally one by one.
You're cordoned off, you're served as one person, right? So I think it's a very different thing that you were experiencing. And if you want it to be like a lot of people from all diverse backgrounds come together and eat, it has to be affordable, right? So there is, I think, implicitly, affordability is part of our what we define as hawker culture, and to compare it with restauranting, and then say Singaporeans mindsets, it's a bit like I said, gaslighting, right?
And I guess that's what when you hear the rebuttals, it almost feels like do they not see the value of hawker culture when you hear speeches like that?
Yeah.
Because there's always this talk of what is the Singaporean identity, what makes us proud. Hawker food is almost universally loved. You might not love char kway teow, but there might be something else you love, or you love your kopi and all. But yeah, when I read rebuttals like this, it's almost getting so defensive that it feels like, wait, do they not see the value of it? And then you're talking so much about how we need to build a Singapore identity, the Forward Singapore Compact and all.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the perfect thing to bring Singaporeans together.
Yeah.
Right. And I think even Leong alluded to, he said, instead of just, celebrating it at NDP or something, because that was the recent NDP with the little fried rice things and all.
There was a whole dance sequence of different dishes and all that.
Yeah, but if we really don't walk the talk and protect it, it will die out.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're building a Founders Memorial, then where's the Hawker Museum, right? Right. Because if you look at Hawker Museum, you Google it now, something comes up called Into the Hawkerverse, but it's a children's museum thing.
Actually, yeah, Hawker Museum. And just over lunch, we were talking yesterday about, I haven't watched Culinary Class Wars.
Yeah.
But, there's so much entertainment value that can be built around the hawker culture,
Yeah.
And just I think the premise of Culinary Food Wars is you get 80 unknown chefs and 20 well-known Michelin chefs.
No, not say unknown but smaller Yeah.
Smaller Not universally or globally acclaimed yet.
Yeah.
And then they face off
Yeah.
In Singapore, where food culture is so big, you have both extremes, right? Crazy fine dining, low-cost hawker. There's just so much there. And it feels like an untapped resource of identity, culture, unity that is just not being used.
Yeah. And I also go back to something else that's on the UNESCO list, the Jeju Hanyo divers, the female divers who in the 70s and 80s who still dive for seafood, right? By holding their breaths and all. That's part of the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage thing also. And I visited the museum in Jeju that they built for it. And it's not the most comprehensive museum. It's not huge or anything, but at least it's there, It's a tourist attraction, and it's a central place where people can come and appreciate the culture of this UNESCO heritage item, right? I don't think we have that in Singapore for hawkers yet, other than just telling tourists, go to this hawker, go to that hawker,
Yeah.
But no central place that really celebrates the inscription on the UNESCO list there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Nothing yet. Well, definitely something. I don't know what would happen after this motion is passed, because it just feels like, what's the next steps?
Hijack. Waiting for the next step.
Hijack away, man. If it can maintain hawker culture. It'd be cool if one day we can do a Yalabat live at a hawker center.
Yeah. It's not even that difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As in the audience, all they're eating.
The audience, I see. Yeah.
Not just us sitting at the table and talking. That one we can do everywhere, Terrence.
That's every day, every lunch.
No, it's a live event where people are eating their food, but there's a show there.
Yeah, correct.
Wow, that would be fucking great.
But yeah, speaking about, putting Singaporeans out there in the world and putting Singapore map and the Singapore flag out there in the world, right? There is someone who is literally doing that and taking Singapore out of this world, in fact. But a little bit of debate about how proud we should be of her achievements also, right? And who is this woman?
It's a certain Nicolina Elric, who recently took a ride in the Blue Origin spacecraft and went into space.
Yeah.
And she brought with her a Singapore flag. So she wasn't born in Singapore. She's not a Singapore citizen yet, but she's been living here since 1995.
She's a PR, right?
Yes, a PR, hoping to become a citizen soon. But yeah, so she got a chance to be the first Scottish woman to go to space. She's Scottish. But she also sees Singapore as home. So that's why she brought the flag. So, there was an article and online some people are saying, but should she be bringing a flag given that she's not Singaporean by birth? She's not a citizen. And some people are like, does it really matter? Just thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you go to her Instagram, there are pictures of her literally, I think before or after the Blue Origin flight, where she's holding the Singapore flag and everyone else is holding an American flag, right? Yeah, so she's one of 6 in that crew.
Yeah.
But yeah, big achievement because, big milestone, I guess, because she's the 95th woman in history to officially go to space, right? And she was also the first Scottish woman to ever go to space. But what do you think about
bringing the flag?
About this whole thing, lah?
I mean, at first I was like, bring the flag. What do I feel about that? But at the end of the day, it's not say something that she. I mean, these kind of things, if you're willing to pay, as long as you're medically fit and you have the opportunity to buy a ticket, you can pay to go into space, lah.
Yeah.
So I think she paid $35,000 a day.
Yeah. For that one day. Right?
For that one day, lah. And it was something that she did, and it's almost akin to like going up Mount Kinabalu.
Okay.
Or like and holding a flag, lah.
But the one Mount Kinabalu, like you have to climb it, lah, right?
I mean, okay, this one also you have to pass certain things.
Okay.
And in some way you have to climb the financial mountain, lah, to be able to cough up $35,000 a day, lah.
Okay, yes.
Right.
Yes,
and then you bring up your flag. So after thinking about it, I was like, okay, she's been living here since 1995. She calls it home. Is it that big a deal? And I think I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it, as in
I'm not triggered, lah.
You're not triggered, lah.
Yeah,
okay,
you?
Okay. I mean, it's cool that the Singapore flag went to space and that she sees, Singapore as her home, and that's why she wanted to honor it. But there is a difference between being a space tourist and an actual astronaut, right? I don't know, in my perception of things.
I think so too.
When Jeff Bezos, for example, when he was on that first, I think he also went to space, right? And everyone made fun of the rocket and everything. Did you feel like
he's an astronaut?
Yeah, well, the general perception, I would say, people is that there's a difference between a space tourist and astronaut.
It's like someone who climbs Everest by, being flown to base camp and carried by Sherpas up to the summit. I wouldn't call them a mountaineer, lah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think part of being an astronaut is not more than just reaching space. They actually stay in space and they do research and bring back, information or valuable data to scientists on Earth also.
And it takes a lot of effort and time to become an astronaut.
Yeah, correct. So, I mean, I didn't feel that sense of pride that I would feel. I mean, I have no qualms about her bringing
the flag
and the fact that she's a PR here and all, because I think there are a lot of PRs in Singapore who contribute a lot to, the cultural fabric that we have in Singapore. Think about Singapore's like one of the craziest ultramarathoners we know, Nat Dao, who's been on this podcast. I mean, she also lives in Singapore a long time and she does amazing things for the communities here as well, right? But then it's just what they did that, I'm a bit like paying for a space trip.
Yeah.
Like, is that something to really shout out about?
Oh, so you are saying like whether it's something we should be proud of?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel nothing.
You feel nothing?
I feel nothing.
That the Singapore flag is there amidst 5 other...
The only thing I feel like, if it's a Singapore astronaut holding a flag, then I would feel like pride.
Okay.
But if it's someone who's in space after paying to fly up for like 10 minutes, I'm like, okay lah. That's why it's like Kinabalu. You bring up a Singapore flag to Kinabalu.
Yeah.
Okay lah.
So, but then like when you went university in the US, right? And then there's a graduation ceremony. Do you like carry Singapore flag or anything? I don't know. No pride, No.
I mean, do you carry your Singapore flag?
I think I wore it on my that hat that they wear for graduation. Like we custom made DIY the Singapore flag on top of it just so that friends can spot us more easily Yeah.
Oh.
But there was pride There was pride.
There's a lot of pride.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to show it out there that I'm damn proud
Oh, is it? No.
Why are you judging me? Why are you judging me?
You are judging me.
No, I'm not judging you. You are. Yeah, I'm blocking your judgment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I can see you.
But you're counter judging me saying that I doing something very unnecessary to show Singapore.
No. There's no such thing as counter judging. I'm blocking the judgment that I saw pouring through your eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you don't feel that those are occasions where you would want to carry the flag or anything?
I mean, even then, like 4 years completing a degree and all is a lot of effort and a lot of work,
Correct, yeah.
So you want to do it, all kudos to you, But I mean, I didn't feel like I wanted to do that,
I see. Then in what situations? Don't talk about like last time school sports and all that. But in what situation do you think you would proudly carry the Singapore flag and to show that you did something?
Also when I like the ultramarathon in Iceland, that one I had a Singapore flag.
Oh, okay. Oh, you carry the flag.
The last part, just hold the flag.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? How come that one you carry the flag?
because that one was, I mean, there were people from all around the world competing for that race.
Okay.
So it felt like, oh, like I'm a Singaporean here lah.
I see.
Yeah.
Were you hoping that newspaper articles will write about you like this also?
No lah.
No.
No. I was hoping that, since you were asking, I was hoping that there was this one strongest spirit award lah.
Okay.
And like, because I got injured on the second day, but I still didn't pull out. And the last day, I took 19 fucking hours to finish 60 km. Okay. And like, I reached when everybody was asleep, and I fell asleep in the shower. I was destroyed lah.
Yeah. You're the last one. Yeah.
I was last lah. Like, everyone was
dead last lah.
I was dead last by like 10 hours, 8 hours, because the last. It was the most painful day of my life.
Okay.
So when they were giving out the awards the next day for Spirit Award, I thought I would win. Then
who got it?
Some other guy who was like Mr. Charisma, make everyone happy and laugh. Then I was sitting there, I was damn salty.
You were hoping for a consolation prize in some ways.
Because like so many times I was just about to get, my feet were swollen. I was taking like 1 hour for 1 kilometer. Towards the last part, I was just destroyed lah.
But maybe the guy also was destroyed.
No, he was not. He ran up on stage, he got the award, he jumped out, and I was like, fuck, I can't even walk right now.
You should have brought crutches or something.
That day I was, was I walking on crutches? I think I had a stick with me, not crutches.
Okay, not a stick, everyone normal.
I was then pissed off.
Maybe that's why you carry your Singapore flag to put yourself out there for a Spirit Award also, right?
No, it wasn't because of that. But since you asked, that was something I was salty about.
I mean, don't you think that this, what's it, Nicolina, is it?
Nicolina.
Yeah, Nicolina. Don't you think this helps her citizenship application in some ways also?
I don't know lah.
You don't think so? You're not so cynical about it, huh?
Helps her.
I mean,
okay, maybe
if you're going to apply for citizenship.
You say, I could pick my own home country, but no, I see Singapore. I guess.
This is her Spirit Award application, right?
She's making it happen. That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are some people online who are saying like, she's a life coach and everything. Obviously, this helps her business, but it is a lot of money. It's like 35 grand, right? Which, if you ask me, like 35 grand, like I see a lot more stupid ways of spending 35 grand that people in Singapore do, right?
Yeah.
So if she's doing this and doing a bucket listing and then talking about it and sharing and all, I think it's quite cool as well.
And I mean, to be the 95th woman in space, I didn't know it's. I mean, if you think about it, it's probably, I don't know, has there even been 1,000 people in space?
I don't think so. Yes, I think it's in the hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. Even though some people are saying, it's 100 kilometers above Earth, really space. I'm like, it's fucking space lah. Okay.
But I mean, although now she's a space tourist, but at the same time, it says that she's aspiring to do a 1-week mission. With SpaceX, right? Which, given the strides that SpaceX is making in rocket propulsion and everything, could be quite risky also, right? It's not guaranteed like survival kind of thing.
But that's nuts. That I mean, like to have negotiations with SpaceX and even this Blue Origin, either she's hooked up or she's a hustler, man.
And it kind of, these kind of stories are interesting also because it kind of takes you out of the everyday grind of like Singapore life and like, that's interesting that there's somebody who's living here who, travels to US to go and fly space missions and whatever, things like that, right?
Yeah. And plus, like, you imagine someone say, what do you do over your December break? Yeah. You went Maui. Cool. You went Seychelles. I went to space. Like, you look at her Instagram, her past like 50 posts are all about the space.
Yeah. I mean, that was basically you. That was basically you during the Subaru challenge and all, so right?
Hey, back then before social media, I never post again. I never post a lot.
A month or 2 or 3 months before and after, that's all you talked about and nothing else, right?
Nonsense. See, Terence, you're only remembering the parts that I did talk to you about. Okay. At no point did I ask you to come and see me after your Halloween parties, but you always did. So I couldn't help it, Terence. I couldn't help it. You were there. I was like, all right, man. Well, but already all her posts like the space thing.
Yeah, I mean, she has been to space, right? Which is
she's been to space.
Still more interesting stack than a lot of other ways to flex that you spend $35,000.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Her oh my God, all her posts, like hundreds of posts.
Yeah.
I think the Instagram account she probably started when she decided to go to space.
Yeah. And she's like speaking to students and all that about
I mean, in some ways, it's an investment, right?
It
you
is.
spend 35K.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of speaking engagements and all that, and you can make it back.
Yeah. Correct. And I mean, I think we had that kind of discussion before, right? About even like summiting Everest and things like that. Whether it's whether it's ethical and worthwhile thing to do also, right?
But that's where, okay, if she's talking to students and all, that's where I feel like, what's she talking about? How she earned enough money to go to space?
But you just said that that's a mountain to climb in itself.
I said that in jest lah.
I actually thought, okay, I mean, in the sense that a lot of people make money through a lot of different means, right? But how you spend it also is telling of your character.
Okay, I mean, she's a cancer survivor also.
Correct.
So, single mom credit, single mom, cancer survivor.
Certified helicopter pilot as well. So she does have accomplishments.
Okay lah.
Yeah.
Okay lah, interesting.
Okay, can take the flag.
Take the flag.
Begrudgingly allow her to take the flag.
Yeah. I mean, I got no issue. She take the flag. Yeah. Want to speak also? Can. No problem.
Yeah. But do you think it'll be, let's say you had this opportunity to go to space one day, right? And then rather than bring Singapore flag, you brought up some other country that you wanted to bring attention to. Like, do you think there's something that you would do?
Another country that I'm having attention to.
Yeah.
Don't know, yeah. I mean, if like hard to say. I would think Singapore first lah.
Singapore first. Okay.
Singapore first. You?
I'd probably be a bit sheepish about bringing another country's flag. Because to say that it's almost like saying that you represent the people there, but if you don't really look or talk or what like the people, it could invite a lot of brickbats, right?
Yeah. But
good for Nicolina. And hopefully good luck to her citizenship application also, right? Yeah.
Cool.
But yes, what is your one Shiok comment of the last few days?
It was on the Reddit thread of our latest episode about the end of school canteen stalls lah. So 587. So mucus_membrane_88 writes, okay, mind blown by two things in this app. First was when Harish mentioned his first taste of nasi lemak was back in primary school. I reflected on that for a bit, and holy shit, primary school was also when I first tried the dish myself. To date, I can still remember the rendition sold by my school. The rice was almost identical to that from Punggol Nasi Lemak shop now. There was a rice, cucumber, and a choice between a tablespoon of sambal ikan bilis or 2 thin slices of omelette. And even though they pointed out, sorry, Harish, not omelette, I'm sticking with omelette. One day I got curious and asked the pakcik if I could have ikan bilis and omelette together. He said okay, and also added a dollop of mee rebus sauce onto the rice. I tell you, the combi was chef kiss. And then also the second moment was about you referencing the music in Persona. But yeah, so reading it, I was like, wow, the fact that the person can remember that sort of moment. See, Terrence, that's what I'm talking about, man. If the pakcik was just someone serving food from a centralized kitchen, you think he could do that or not? There's no pakcik to do that. Okay?
Yeah.
So those are the special moments that are created.
I also had good relationship with cookhouse auntie. I fondly remember.
But did the cookhouse auntie cook the food? No. Okay.
No. But she was very nice when forcing me to put the little chip, in the whole thing where you have to give feedback about the food and all that.
You got to remember her face or not?
No, I don't.
Because another commenter, I've forgotten many faces, but wow, I'll never forget the lovely makcik's face. He's 30 years old. That was a comment from Raikota.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Harish is right. The relationship with the canton stall operators cannot be replaced, man. Okay, so Terrence, what is your one Shiok comment?
My one Shiok comment is, I don't know if you talked about this, but Kitania posted, a photo on her Instagram of her on our podcast. And I think she just asked hey, check out my latest Yalabat podcast video and follow them if you like the real talk these brothers are on. Have you seen any of their stuff yet? Then she puts a survey. Yes, they're so smart. Or no, I'm going to check them out. Also thanks to Kitania for asking people to respond. But then a comment came in from Toby Chai. Best podcast in Singapore, hands down. Comment section is one of the cleanest I've ever seen. Almost no trolls. Their production rate is quite insane too. So many in a week. So it's cool that this is coming from another person's Instagram page, a comment about us. But yeah,
Solid.
cleanest comment section also, which I think is cool. Yeah.
And production, so shout out to Dom Tristan also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing is a trailer for a new movie coming out. It's called Better Man. And it stars Robbie Williams, the pop star who was once part of the greatest band in the world, Take That. So it's quite interesting. It's actually a biopic about Robbie Williams' life. And it's directed by the director of one of the most underrated shows, I think, out there, The Greatest Showman. You know that musical. But what's interesting is that it's a biopic about Robbie Williams, but told through a monkey. That means the lead character is a monkey trying to become a pop star in the world today. So the trailer's pretty awesome. I think there's
Better Man.
Yeah, Better Man. The trailer's pretty awesome. I think it's an interesting twist on what biopics should be. So, and I can imagine it's probably a musical because it probably features a lot of Robbie Williams singing music and all that.
Robbie Williams.
So I always feel like...
But on which platform?
It's a movie. It's coming out in January, I believe.
Oh, it's a movie.
Yeah. So it looks pretty insane. And then I think... have you seen The Greatest Showman?
No, not yet.
It's one of those movies that I walked in thinking like, oh, damn it, like I'm going to hate this show and everything. And I think I walk out and I just keep singing the songs nonstop until my wife can't stand it and all that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You don't like musicals, right? So you can, yeah.
Yeah, but I did like the clip of Hugh Jackman, who I think had some nose operation.
Yeah.
But then he came back to sing at the moment when the movie was going to be greenlit or not, together with the cast.
At the rehearsal.
Yeah, at the rehearsal. And wow, that was damn Hugh Jackman cool. Hugh Jackman cool.
So the whole movie has that kind of feel to it. Yeah. So it's one of those movies I walked in, I was like, what is this? And then I walked out like with a big smile on my face.
Oh, really?
I'm hoping that this is like that as well.
Oh, nice. Cool. My one Shiok thing is shit. What was it? It is.
Forgot already.
Forgot. Oh, sorry. Yes. It is the fact that this weekend I think will be the first game of the new manager of Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. But my one Shiok thing was the interim manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy. He took charge of 4 games. I think was unbeaten throughout. Yeah. And he was assistant to the coach that was recently let go, Ten Hag. And I think it was just a nice thing for Ruud van Nistelrooy because when he was playing for Man U, I think his departure from Man U was not the most, amiable. I think he didn't leave on the best terms with Ferguson.
Yeah.
Because that was a time when Ronaldo came in, and I think there was tensions between Ronaldo being the star man and Nistelrooy, who was the previous star man. So he went to Real Madrid, and I always felt like he didn't get the farewell he deserved.
Yeah.
So after he managed these 4 games, I think it was just great to see them play well, and the clips of him on the sidelines celebrating, you can feel he really loves the club. Yeah. And it was just a nice moment that he got to do a farewell lap and show his appreciation for the fans all these years. Because he was amazing at Man U as a player.
Yeah. But are you excited about the new manager?
Yeah, excited.
Excited?
Yeah.
Or is a bit like, here we go again?
Excited. Seems interesting. He's a young guy. He's 1 year younger than me.
Yeah.
Managing Manchester United, so interesting.
And he even played against some of the current players like Johnny Evans and stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he's from Sporting Lisbon, which is the club that Ronaldo came from. So see lah.
Not trying to hijack your one Shiok thing but there are some great videos on 442 about
his analysis and all.
What he will bring to Man U as a manager, which I thought were great.
Cool. All right, man. Cool, man. All right, so.
Again, remember to follow us on Telegram specifically if you want information about our upcoming live show, which will be on what day again?
12th December, Thursday, with the tickets going live next Tuesday, 19 November at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
We'll put the link in our Telegram, so follow us there. And hope to see you guys there. Thanks for listening, everyone.